I'ma do it some nights. So what my eyes, that moment I visualize is coming. If you could see me now, see I'm gonna break through the life I knew. Been waiting, a dream come true. Still aiming. If you could see me now, if you could see me now.
Hey guys, welcome back again. It's Friday, it's hobby day, and we're continuing what we started last week. Last week we did our first matchup of Eugene versus Hexaorb, and today I want to bring you guys game 2. I kind of already spoiled who wins this game based on some of the stuff I said in the last game, but if you didn't watch the last video, link will be in the description, and if you didn't, then this game's a surprise for you. But I'm going to hit you guys again with some post-commentary and show you guys a really, really fun matchup. If you guys enjoy the video, please drop a like, subscribe if you're new. I do hobby videos every Friday. Right now I'm bouncing between Yu-Gi-Oh! And Cardfight Vanguard, and I'm having a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. But enough from me, let's jump in, let's check out the game. So this is game 2. I had lost game 1, so I actually got to go first again. And Gary forgot to flip up his starter. Give him a second. I discard Stealth Fiend, ride grade 1. There he goes. He discards grade 1, rides grade 1. Oh no, it's grade 2 he discarded. I think he should have held off on this grade 1 a little bit, but I guess maybe he was fishing for cards. But he Soul Blast 1, retires the grade 1, grabs a card. Not bad. This time I discarded a trigger to ride grade 2. I had a hand full of a lot of combo pieces. I didn't want to discard my combo pieces. My deck has a lot of defense, so I knew I'd be able to be okay even without the crit trigger. And then I check the crit. I also for anybody who doesn't know, if you're new to this, Randor has a Vanguard rearguard skill. When he attacks, if your opponent has 2 less rearguards, you can counter blast 1, soul charge 1, and he gains 5k. I like to use it now to start filling up my soul for Eugene. It's 1 counter blast. The deck doesn't really counter blast that much. I don't know what that was. We're okay. Now he just discarded a ride grade 2. Grade 2's effect, grade 1's effect. When he rides the grade 2, he can counter blast 1, draw a card, which is what he did. And then again, he uses that grade 1 to boost, and then Soul Blasts it. Soul Blast to retire and draw another card. So right now we just went back and forth with crits. So now it's 3-2. I discard another crit to ride grade 3. Randor's when he's ridden on skill, draw a card, take a card from your draw, put it in a soul. So I think I've got 7 cards in soul right now. Make a board. Now, I swing a Tri-Bash first, based on what he's going to do. 13. He decides to guard it. Now, I decided not to use it. Use Tri-Bash's skill. Tri-Bash, when the Vanguard swings, can go to the soul to give the Vanguard an extra crit. I had no extra power on Eugene. He had no incentive to guard it. And even if he did guard it, it would have been a 1 trigger for a 2 to pass. So I was like, I'm better off just saving the effect. And then my rearguard column was 23 because, don't ask me to pronounce that guy's name, I never get it right. The grade 2 in the front row gains 5k if my opponent has 2 less rearguards. So that was a nice 23k line. And you're going to see that I actually abuse that number as this game goes on. So now when he rides grade 3, the grade 2's effect goes off, letting him look at the top 3 cards of his deck and stack them in any order. Now he's going to use the grade 1 to action manipulate his deck. Rest it, Soul Blast 1, look at the top 2, put 1 on top, 1 on bottom. So because he was so quick about it, honestly, I knew that he was getting a trigger. And I gotta point something out here. This, I think, was kind of a weird option. He decided to call over the grade 1 with the grade 3. The reason he did that was purely to stop Eugene. Eugene can retire a rear guard and then Soul Blast 5 to call rear guards. But I already have an established board. He did it because that unit can't be targeted, so now he only has the one rear guard, and I can't retire the rest of his board. I just thought it was weird because of the fact that I already had an established board. There's no reason for me to call out any other rear guards right now. Maybe one booster. Maybe I'll get him in here next time to actually give his opinion on stuff. So I got his Vanguard 2 to pass. I know he's getting one trigger. So he checks the draw trigger, and now he's deciding on the power. So he knows that he doesn't know what the next card is. Let me rephrase. He knows what the next card is. It's not a trigger, but he gets to draw it first. But he was chancing on if he's going to get a trigger, a second trigger, if he should give the power to his Vanguard. He decides to give everything to the rear guard, and then he uses Then he uses Hexa Orb's skill to give another 10k to his rear guard, and then he hits a front trigger. So I managed to guard the attack, but now his rear guard is swinging for 53. That's the scary thing about that deck, is triggers are just become so silly. He gets the soul charge and counter charge. I'm fine with it. I take the 1 damage. Persona Ride. Draw. And I call nothing. I was immediately going to go to my battle phase, but I wanted to make sure I displayed powers, so I took a second. Want to make sure you guys at home can keep track of this. So I swing a Tri-Bash first, obviously, because I'm going to use Tri-Bash with my Vanguards, but I swing at his rear guard. I swing 23 to the rear guard. He decides to guard it with a 15k shield. I swing Vanguard 23, use Tri-Bash to gain an extra crit, and he guards it. He actually guards it with 43 for a 2 to pass. Can't forget his extra 5k. So, Twin Drive, first check, defensive order, second check, 3-2. And then I swing with, this is now 33 because of the Persona Ride, and I swing in his rear guard, forcing him to get rid of it. The reason I didn't go for his Vanguard is because A, it's 1 damage. He's just gonna either eat it. Well, it's 1 damage. He would have just took it. But for swinging at the rear guard, he either has to guard with more cards out of hand to keep the rear guard, or lose the rear guard. It means he has to play more cards on his next turn. So the smartest thing to do was to swing at the rear guard, rather than let him keep that. So now he calls these 2. That's that restanding grade 3. That card's a bit of a problem. He also Persona Road, so he gets to use the Vanguard skill. If he Persona Road, you can Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, reveal a crit or a front, stack it on top of your deck, and now he gets triple drive. Turns out you can actually use that skill as long as you Persona Road. You don't actually have to stack anything. So that's also interesting to know. So now we know he's for sure getting a crit. So he swings with the rear guard, that's 23. I guard that with the defensive order because it is a 1 card guard. He swings with his Vanguard 23. This is where things started to get interesting, because not only does he have a guaranteed crit on top of his deck, he also has the extra power he's allowed to give his rear guards. I guard here with a 3 to pass because I do not trust him after how he won game 1. So gives it to the rear guard, restands the rear guard. He splits up power. He gets to give the power from the trigger to 1 rear guard, and then the power from Hexa Orb to the other. And then he gets no trigger and no trigger. He did get a perfect guard though. So now he's swinging 38 for 2. I drop a perfect guard on that. And then he swings with this unit for, I think it was 28, but I ended up taking it anyway. Now, this is where I get to do some cool stuff. So we get to Persona Ride again. And now we get to play a card that I think people sleep on, especially in Eugene. So, before I pause it again, Eugene has a small problem. While it is a retire-based deck, it does have issue retiring more than 2 or 3 rear guards in a turn. So, I run this card. I think this card at 1 is actually very beneficial, especially for Eugene. So I counterblast 2 and play Sunlight Punishment. Sunlight Punishment lets you counterblast X when you play it, and you get to retire that many points rear guards. So I just paid 2, retired both of my points rear guards, and then Soul Blast 5. Now I can check top 5 and call out any number of rear guards. But my top 5 was kind of meh. It was 2 triggers, a defensive order, and 2 grade 2s. The problem was one of the grade 2s was good, the other one was not. It was the counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1 to retire a rear guard. It's on place, which he has no rear guards. So I call the 1 grade 2 I can actually use, and then put the rest in the soul. I also looked at my hand because my hand actually had some other good rear guards I could call. So I didn't mind just giving up the soul. I didn't mind giving up the rear guards to the soul. And then I call these 2. Bam. I swap these out. I call the Tensa Steed instead because, again, I have no rear guards to retire, and now if that attack hits, I get to get another grade 3 from the deck. So we're swinging 23. He takes it. We get a crit. Crit rear. Power. Crit van. Power rear. Ugh. Now this annoyed me. Hits a heal trigger. Gets the 10k. Hits another heal trigger. Well, I'm glad he didn't heal because we were already at 5. My now powerful board looks very, very minuscule. So this column, because of Randor's plus 5k, becomes 23 with the Persona it's 33, so he still has to guard it, but it is now a 5k guard as opposed to a 25k guard. And then this column is now 43 because of the trigger, and it is again a 1 card guard. So I thought that was all she wrote after this. But he has no cards in Soul, and as you will see in a second, oh yeah, I'm also sitting on 3 cards. He does not have a grade 3 to Persona Ride. My hand right now is a grade 1, a grade 2, and a trigger. He uses his last Soul Blast to check the top 2 of his deck. Because he paused, I know he didn't have a trigger. So I know at least his first drive check was not going to be a trigger. But he does manipulate his deck to get a non-trigger out of there. The card he put on top was actually a perfect card, which I think was actually a smart idea. So he calls a trigger for a booster. He's actually just deciding how off he needs to go. We are at 5 damage with 3 cards in hand. We do have 2 intercepts, but that only helps so much. He decides to call out another column. It's only 13, but if he hits a trigger, then immediately jumps it up to 33. I immediately went to throw out the trigger, but wanted to think about it. So here's the mind game of Hexa Orb, especially the way his board is set up right now. Hexa Orb is swinging for 18. If he hits a trigger and gives it to Hexa Orb, that puts her up to 28. But then he can use Hexa Orb's skill on her booster, boosting the row up to 38 off of just 1 trigger. Or he could give it to the rear guard and boost that 13k rear guard to a 33k rear guard. So I needed to decide if there was even a point to guard for more than 1 to pass. Because if I intercept, the attack hits gets swinging for 18. So I would either need to use 2 intercepts or a 15k trigger. But if he hits 1 trigger, that puts him up to 38, which means I can't guard it anyway. Because in my hand, I can only get up to 38. And even if I did guard 38, or more than 38 for a 2 to pass, he would just give it to a rear guard and I would die anyway. So I guarded 1 to pass, took the chance, he did not hit a trigger, and now he swings with the rear guard, the 13k, but he goes for my rear guard. Regardless if he had gone rear guard or Vanguard, I was planning on intercepting with Randor. I was honestly in shock that we survived the turn, only using 1 card out of our hands. We don't have a grade 3 to Persona ride, but we're still going to push as hard as we can. So we call Stealthine Rest 2. Now we have to do this. This was actually required of us to actually be able to push as hard as we can. We retire the grade 1. At this point, I'm like, what's good to retire? I retired the grade 1 because it was the biggest booster he had, and he could still use its draw effect if he got a card in Soul. We used Stealthine to check the top card of our deck. It was a perfect guard, so we decided to use it as a booster for the Vanguard, and then we use Nigel to pop another rare guard. In this case, we pop the booster behind the Vanguard. And we call out our last 2 cards. Now, because he's only down to 2 rare guards, both of the grade 2s gain their power boost, now making them 23 credit rows. The Vanguard gained 10k of his skill, so now this is a 29 with 2 23k rows on the sides. He perfect guards it with 1 card left in hand. We get a critical trigger, we give it all to the right side. So now that is a 33 for 2. His last card was a perfect guard. As you guys know, with the new perfect guards, if you have 1 or less cards in hand, you can guard with it for free. And then he takes our last attack, and that was the game. So we managed to make a comeback and take game 2. It was a lot of fun. That last turn where he did not get a trigger was a nail biter, but we endured. As you guys can see, with the grade 2s I have in Eugene, hitting 23k lines is very, very consistent. And with the grade 2 coming in set 2, it's going to make it even better. Because the only grade 2 that doesn't hit 23k lines is the one that I shoved into Soul because I want to maintain power. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you guys enjoyed the video, please, again, drop a like. If you guys want to see part 3, stay tuned next week. We will drop part 3 so you guys can see who actually won this matchup. If you guys want to check me on social media, those links will also be down below. But that's it for me, and I'll catch you guys on next video. Later.
I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong. Let's break it down for a minute. I want the crown, I'm gon' get it. You hear me loud, man, I'm winning. Yeah, Charlie Sheen will be grinning.